Today we are going to make ridiculously simple banana bread. And I have a couple of stories I want to tell you about banana. First of all, years ago I had this wonderful aunt and uncle in Winnipeg, Charlie and Maggie, and they were in their 90s. And one day when I was very young, well, I was probably 12 or 13, I stayed with them overnight. And the next morning I woke up and my Uncle Charlie, who was well into his 90s at the time, had an onion, a banana, and an orange. And he said, Richard, he said, very important that you know this. Every day I have a banana, an orange, and an onion. The banana is for potassium, the orange is for vitamin C, and the onion is to keep Maggie away from me at night. I've always been somebody who loves bananas. So in my house, there's always bananas, there's always oranges. They're a big part of my diet. Anyways, I had and worked with for many, many years a wonderful woman by the name of Jan Robinson. She was my assistant for many years. We worked together for many years. We go back and she's still around and kicking and making banana bread. But it was very funny because what would happen is when the bananas got too well done and they got sort of like this, I would put them in the fridge and we'd end up with a bag of bananas that we kept in the freezer, and we still do. So whenever I tell people I know how to make banana bread, I say I put them in the freezer. But what really happened was Jan would come, she'd pick up the bananas, she'd take them to her place, she'd make banana bread, and she'd put it back in my fridge. And that's, for many years, how I made banana bread. Today we're gonna make banana bread, and this recipe calls for 2 bananas. However, I have 3, so what I did is I reached into the freezer, and I took out this banana. And they're great. You just keep them in the freezer when you're done with them, and you just keep them there, and every time you need to make banana bread, they're there for you. So we'll be using this later on today. First things first, of course, we start with a loaf pan that we've buttered and we've put flour in. Now, I don't know how these are gonna work because I don't at the moment have the proper baking pans. However, that's what Amazon is for. So hopefully they'll be coming tomorrow. So we butter them, we put a little flour in them, and we start with, now remember, because I have 4 bananas and this recipe calls for 2 bananas, I'm gonna actually double the recipe, all right? Here we go, 2.5 cups of flour. The actual recipe only calls for 1.5 cups. Because we're doubling the recipe, I'll put 2.5 cups of flour in here. Normally it would be 1.25 cups. And at the bottom you'll see the full recipe, and that's really a single recipe for these simply ridiculously easy banana bread. Okay, so we are going to add baking soda and we're going to mix it up a bit. We've sifted all of this through, of course, and it's beautiful. We're mixing it through, and we're going to add eggs, 4 eggs in this case. In the proper recipe, it's only 2, but because we're doubling the recipe, we're going to add it and make it 4. Flour has a tendency to go all over the place, so I have started just before I turn the mixer on. Ooh, I'm going to turn it on low. I've already started. Ooh. So we're going to add some oil in here, 1 cup of oil. I like to use sunflower oil. I'm not too sure whether I should or not, but I like the fact that it almost has no taste. As you can see, I'm making a big mess all over the place. So before I mix it, the next thing that we add is sugar. The recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar, but in this case, again, we're doubling the recipe, so 2 cups of sugar. one of my favorite parts of this recipe, and it does with aggression, I suppose, is smashing the bananas. So you take, in this case, 4 bananas, but sometimes 2 bananas, and you just smash them until they're nice and mashed together. And last but not least, we're gonna add the smashed up bananas. Yum. All that aggression that I had is gone. And walnuts, pecans, whatever you want to put. In this case, we're gonna do walnuts. And let's mix it all up because we are gonna have a wonderful banana bread. Let's make sure this is well mixed. And my cousin Susan Mendelson from the Lazy Gourmet in Vancouver loves to add chocolate chips to this, which is good because she finds that her kids and grandkids, they love to have the taste of chocolate. So you can also add some chocolate chips to the recipe. But I'm a purist. And the nice thing about this as well is because we haven't used any butter, this is a great recipe for people who are lactose intolerant. There's no milk products in here. The last thing we're gonna do is take half the mixture and pour it into one pan and pour it into the other pan. And we are gonna put them into the 350-degree oven that is now nicely heated. And we're gonna put it in for about an hour. And when it's finished, we'll give it a try, okay? So if you wanted to, you could put some chocolate chips in this recipe, or if you're gonna do a double, you could do one with chocolate chips or not. But here we go, and we're ready to put this in the oven. Just in case of overflow, I like to put both of the loaf pans on another sheet, just in case sometimes you get a bit of an overflow. It's much easier to clean the sheet than it is to clean the oven. So there we go, and hopefully these will work out well, even though these are not normal baking pans. Here we go, into the oven, and we'll see what they look like in 1 hour. Here is your ridiculously simple banana bread. So we have 2 loaves, we can share them with friends, family, whatever, and they're actually so easy to do and they're delicious. So enjoy.